Juneau is the prettiest capital in America. That might be true. And it might just be the wildest capital as well.
America's state capitals come in all shapes and sizes, but Juneau, the gloriously remote, gloriously quirky capital of Alaska, is in a category entirely of its own. Completely cut off in splendid isolation, the city sits with its back to mountains and glaciers and its face to the ocean, with no way in or out by road. As such, it's an adventure sports paradise, with wilderness and incredible wildlife right on its doorstep. Mighty Mount Roberts dominates Juneau's skyline, and its famous sightseeing tram remains one of the most popular excursions in town. But there's another, more fun way to enjoy the stellar views from the top, namely the 90-minute hike up the mountain's spine. Even better if you can find a local to climb with you.
Why is Juneau the capital of Alaska when Anchorage is 10 times the size?
Right, you would think that it would be the larger city, but it has to do with the history of kind of Alaska's development. When Alaska was a territory of Russia, Sitka was the capital. And then as the gold rush happened, Juneau was actually the largest settlement north of Seattle. So this is where the center of commerce was. This is where the government was with the United States side of things.
We earned this.
There's nothing like climbing a steep Alaskan mountain to work up a soaring appetite. And when you're in Juneau, there's always one standout option: seafood.
We're well known for our seafood. We have all 5 species of salmon that come into Juneau. We have halibut, black cod, some people call it sablefish, rockfish, and of course our crab.
Oh, wow.
So there are 3 types of king crab in Alaska.
Right.
Blue, red, and brown.
Okay.
There's snow crab, and there's 3 types of those: Tanner, Beardeye, and Opelio. And then there's Dungeness crab.
Okay.
And we serve pretty much all of it.
Tracy's has some of the freshest, sweetest seafood I've ever eaten in my life. But in Juneau, you're spoilt for choice when it comes to unforgettable food experiences.
Juneau is the only US state capital that you can't access by road. If you want to get here, you have to come by water or air. And because of that, the ultimate means of transportation here is the float plane.
Taku Lodge, built as a private retreat in the 1920s, is now one of the most popular day trips from Juneau. Guests fly out over 5 gargantuan glaciers before splashing down in front of the lodge to enjoy one of their legendary salmon feasts.
So this is the lodge, this is the famous lodge that we've flown out to see. I can already smell something nice cooking on the barbie.
Kind of the star of our show is our Taku River grilled salmon, which we cook over a wood fire on an outdoor grill. All right from the area,
Right.
locally sustained and harvested.
What's beautiful about Taku Lodge is that it's a family-run business and has been for more than 3 decades, so they've had plenty of time to perfect their secret wine and sugar-based salmon glaze. The float planes out here to this slice of Alaskan wilderness are always full, and as soon as you take your first bite of syrupy king salmon, you can see exactly why.
That tastes amazing.
Juneau has glaciers like other towns have parks, almost 40 in total, but the undisputed king is the Mendenhall Glacier, a frozen colossus spanning a whopping 12 miles from the Juneau icefield down to Mendenhall Lake. Local operator Liquid Alaska Tours run canoe trips over to the foot of the glacier, allowing you to get up close and personal with this awe-inspiring feat of nature. You can appreciate why this is the #1 attraction in Juneau. Coming here and not seeing Mendenhall would be like going to Rome and not seeing the Colosseum.
The glacier is actually carrying all kinds of sediments and rocks. This granite piece behind us, we've got granite all around us here, but the closest granite deposit is about 10 miles away. Wow. Yeah.
I can't think of anywhere else on the planet that has a glacier so close to a major downtown area, and that in itself is a phenomenal attraction for visitors to Juneau, that they can see such an elemental force of nature right on the doorstep.
Juneau had a rugged upbringing on fur, Russians and gold before finding its calling as the capital of Alaska. And many of the buildings are still reminiscent of that frontier-style gold rush era. including the infamous Red Dog Saloon, where I'm introduced to a feisty local speciality called the duck fart, with its own unofficial catchphrase.
Quack, quack, throw it back. Cheers. If you thought dog sledding was just a winter activity, you'd be wrong. Because in Juneau, you can do it in the middle of the summer.
I'm Brett. How are you doing?
Jonathan.
Nice to meet you, Jonathan.
Very nice to meet you. This is Herbert Glacier, an absolutely enormous glacier that's been pushing its way through these mountains for thousands and thousands of years. I can't believe how many dogs you've got here. How many dogs are there?
235 of them.
Wow.
They're all Alaskan Huskies up here. That's pretty much a fancy word for a mixed breed mutt.
Okay.
So they're a performance bred job, and that job's to pull, which makes them really good for doing sled dog tours up here.
All right.
All right.
Hey!
It's crazy to think that in the first week of July you can be dog sledding through deep snow so close to a major American city. But that's exactly the case in Juneau, where beginners can learn to turn, steer, brake and command a team of huskies from a secondary sled behind the driver. These dogs live for running and just seem to be having the best time as we gallop across the glacier. But not all of the city's canine inhabitants are fans of life in the fast lane. Juneau is an extremely dog-friendly city. It feels like everyone here owns a dog, and those dogs, like their owners, are living their best lives. This is just one of those places where you don't have to make an effort to find and enjoy adventure sports, because they're all right here for you, within touching distance. It's like a greatest hits of the great outdoors. Mountains, rainforests, glaciers, rivers, lakes, ocean. Everything's on tap here. It's a perfect playground for thrill seekers of all kinds, capacities and capabilities.
Eagle Crest is the biggest ski area in Juneau and the second biggest in Alaska. And during the summer months, some of the locals have got quite creative with how they enjoy it. Aha, you must be Ruben.
I am, Jonathan. Nice to meet you.
Those are the fattest tyres I've ever seen on a Segway.
This is the Ironman version of Segwaying.
Wow. So like everyone else, I've seen Segway tours in downtown areas, but I have never heard of Segway tours out in the wilderness. And to find these all-terrain Segways in a national forest is just awesome. It's a brilliant way to see the trails. I love it. Alaska is surrounded by Canada, and it used to be Russia. But its capital, Juneau, is also one of the best places to celebrate the most American day of all, July the 4th.
It was a real treat to be in Juneau for Independence Day. It might be one of the smallest state capitals in the country, but they celebrate in a big way with an enormous parade that snakes through downtown and processes all the way across the bridge and onto Douglas Island on the other side of the Gastineau Channel. People come from all over Alaska for this spectacle, which is a full-day affair with all kinds of competitions, contests, and races to sign up for, whatever your age. And I, for one, wasn't backing down from that challenge.
To these people, this is a fun afternoon in the sunshine. To me, this is war.
Let's face it, Independence Day is not a great day to be a Brit in America. But I was determined to right that balance, despite facing fierce competition from the local dad brigade. Sadly, balance itself proved to be a bit of a problem for me. But, as George Washington, the first president of an independent America, said, it is better to offer no excuses than a bad one.
Seems like it's 2022. But the Brits are still getting beaten.
During the height of summer, daylight stretches for more than 20 hours in Juneau, with darkness falling just before midnight. And that's as good an excuse as any for the fun-loving locals to party deep into the early hours, especially on Independence Day, which is always greeted in these parts with a bang.
Juneau is a city of extremes. In the winter, the snow can get to 12 feet deep. In the summer, it's so hot you'd think you were in Texas or California. And one thing they take to extreme is the 4th of July. This is one of the best destinations in the country to celebrate Independence Day.